Let's go, Washington Commanders fans. Our first ever live stream as we get ready for the big game versus Philadelphia. Can the Washington Commanders actually win the NFC East and make a real freaking push to the big game? We'll talk injury reports and all the different things that you need to know. Marshawn Lattimore will not play, but Brian Robinson will be back, and obviously he is a big piece for what the Commanders have done this season. Look, McNichols has done a really good job, obviously, running these zone read concepts with Jayden. Had a nice touchdown this past week. Obviously, it is nice from an NFL perspective, even if you're not a Commanders fan or a Chargers fan or whatever, it is nice to see the resurgence of Austin Eckler. Those things are all fine and dandy, but the simple truth is B-Rob is that guy. I think most people, just by looking at the eye test, would tell you that this offense is better served with number 8 in the backfield, and he will be a very welcome addition versus a Philadelphia Eagles team, which defensively has played a lot better than what they did at the end of last season, obviously ending the season on a very sour note in that Tampa Bay playoff game. So, we'll take a look at the Eagles. We'll take a look at the NFC. But one thing I wanted to start off with, obviously, my intro into Commanders fandom, just to let you guys know a little bit more about myself. I know we're so film study based. The first thing, obviously, is I've lived in D.C. A lot of my family lives in D.C., and Washington's always kind of been that second team. Most of my family went to Howard University, and I have a lot of respect for DC sports fans. And that's part of the reason why I love doing Commanders film studies and why my favorite college quarterback, well, tied for my favorite college quarterback of all time, decided to go to the NFL. Obviously, Jayden and Joe Burrow. But Jayden going to the Commanders meant a lot to me. It really did. And you could just see it going back to our preseason film studies to where we are now as a Commanders community. So Jayden, of course, is just such a phenomenal player, a phenomenal person, a guy who's persevered through so much. I knew so much about his story while he was at LSU. And this guy is blue-collar, hardworking, with a big personality. And it's amazing how he has transformed this team. And you could see with his demeanor and how he doesn't go out there like Caleb Williams and lose games. It is amazing how mature and how freaking good he is right off the jump. We'll talk a little bit about the Steelers game as well, but I do want to start off here tonight talking about this chart via James Foster at No Flags Film. So on target pass percentage is a subjective metric that is charted by Sports Info Solutions. And if you look at a stat, let's say like EPA per play or CPOE, Jayden Daniels is amongst the NFL's leaders. But when you take a look at on-target percentage, Jayden Daniels is all the way down to the 23rd ranked quarterback in on-target pass percentage, or 75% of his passes are on target. Now, what is very interesting about this is Jayden, in terms of on-target pass percentage, is actually fine in the intermediate, right? 82%, that's not bad. 73.6%, that's not bad. And 82.1% is actually targets from 11 to 15 yards. But where the percentages go down is the opposite of who he was in college, a 55.6 deep pass percentage rate and a 46.2%. Now, why is that the case? Well, it's simple. Jayden Daniels, as a quarterback, is never going to go out there and lose games. And he likes to throw passes that have a low interceptable pass rate. So what you'll see, and you saw it some in the Giants game, is he'll throw a lot of passes just out of bounds to avoid the turnover when there are opportunities to fit the ball in there. And I also think that data can be a little skewed because in those first couple of games, he did miss quite a few players. But as games have gone on, you see what his mobility has done. You see what his leadership has done. You see his inability to turn the football over, what it's done for this team. It's taken them to another level. Okay. And that's one thing that I am really excited to see. When you take a look at this Commanders offense, this offense, in terms of its receivers, you would never consider the group of receivers for the Washington Commanders as a top 5 wide receiver grouping. I don't know if you would put them in the top 10, but you have guys like Zach Ertz stepping up. You have guys like Noah Brown stepping up. And then, of course, Scary Terry McLaurin. So it has been fun watching this offense evolve. It's been fun watching Cliff Kingsbury put a lot of wrinkles into this Jayden Daniels offense. LSU didn't do a whole lot of under center stuff. That's been obviously a transition. And then, of course, we have pointed out in the film study what Cliff has done with the overloads on the line of scrimmage on one side. I love looking at that. I love that. I'm a big fan of heavy personnel groupings. Let's go to Patrick, our first commenter. I think my team knows that it should have beaten Pittsburgh. And he says, you will beat the Philadelphia Eagles. All right. I like to see that, Patrick. I do. Let's go to the injury report. This is via the Commanders on Twitter and via Hog Haven. Okay. So there you go. Nick Bellori, who's been pretty solid this year for the Commanders. He, in fact, is one of their highest graded defensive players, even though he's only played 7 total snaps this season. Obviously more of a backup special teamer. I think he played most of his career with the Seahawks. But obviously the big name on here is Marshawn Lattimore. Everyone's excited to see him. He will not play tomorrow with the hamstring injury. All right. Tyler Biadasz, this offensive line is really banged up, as many of you know. All 3 of the offensive tackles have been questionable. They're obviously feeling pretty good about some of these. Dante Fowler, of course, what a big-time player he's been for them this year. A groin. And then obviously if you're on this short week, you're just hoping for the non-serious injury to come along. But this is such a big game versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay? Now, I do want to talk a little bit about the NFL as a whole. This is Power Hour NFL. We don't just do the Commanders. And at this juncture, the Commanders are 3.5-point underdogs versus the Philadelphia Eagles. And that's about where I expected it to be. I could see this get to 3, where I might pounce Jayden Daniels in a primetime game. Are you kidding me? Coming off a loss. I kind of just want to take the Commanders on principle there. But the Eagles, of course, they're playing good ball. And you got to be careful with Saquon Barkley or else he'll jump over you backwards. The rest of the NFL, there's really not a game that I looked at this week that I just feel is an unbelievable spot for any of these teams. I'm looking forward to the Browns and Jameis Winston going back to New Orleans. But, of course, you take a look at some of these other games. This Green Bay game is pretty interesting for the Commanders because if you do lose this game to Philly, you will be jockeying for wild card position versus some of these other teams like the 49ers and the Seahawks. So a very interesting week 11 in the NFL. I do want to show this here. Let me see if I can pull. Okay, this just decided to crap out on me. Let's go here. And obviously there's a lot of tiebreakers and all of that. And get to here. Okay. Bang, bang. Bang. There we go. Just to give you a better idea of the NFC wildcard picture, obviously the Cowboys are out of it. Commanders and Eagles. Eagles have a game in hand, obviously, with the bye week for them already happening. Commanders 7-3 on the season. And one thing that's interesting is the points for and points against differential between these two teams. Commanders, of course, have scored way more points, 290 to 233. Eagles, 168 points against, 217 points against. Then again, the Commanders have played one more game, but a 60-point disparity there is actually pretty freaking large. And if you're the Commanders, obviously your 7 wins is only behind the 8 wins of the Detroit Lions, who are probably the best team in the NFC right now. So you have a lot of these 7-2, 6-3 teams. From a Commander standpoint, you're hoping the Packers just kind of go on a losing streak here. And the NFC South, obviously firmly in control right now by the Atlanta Falcons. So you do have, a few wild card spots that are up for grabs. And you do hope that some of these other teams in these kind of middle tier wild card spots begin to fade. So very interesting. And I'm really excited about this game tomorrow versus Philly. Okay. Let's go to one of my longtime supporters. It's Pegasus. Over, under for Jayden, 226. Oh, we're going over, baby. All day, every day. Philly's not ready. And who's the next coach in the NFL on the hot seat? Obviously, that's going to be Matt Eberflus. I believe he will get fired potentially in the next few weeks. Wink, wink, nod, nod. But obviously, that's the one that most people are pointing to at this juncture. Now, I want to take a look at this. I won't spend too much time on it, but you want to know why the Commanders have to go out there and get Marshon Lattimore? Well, it's simple. I took a lot of heat for saying what I said about Benjamin St-Juste. He has a 49 grade on Pro Football Focus. 49. That's unacceptable. It's the lowest on this defense of players who have played over 400 snaps. Okay? 400 snaps of below average replacement level corner play. Now, it doesn't help that Noah, the young man from Auburn, hasn't been much better. So that's why you have to go out there and go get Marshon Lattimore. You can make a case the Commanders had the worst corner room in the entire league. Sanders, still a rookie, has had to play some outside corner. Obviously, a better fit in that nickel. But, the thing that's been interesting for me have been the lower grades from these interior defensive players. Jerzan Newton obviously won't get into what happened this past weekend. But Jonathan Allen, who's been a really good player, Fedarian Mathis, the grades don't look too great. Okay? So you need some defensive players to start playing better. Jeremy Chin, of course, we knew he'd be pretty solid. He's been good. Frankie Louvu was a steal this offseason. He's been good. So we'll see how the rest of the season plays out. And then, of course, Emmanuel Ford has been a disaster. But having Bobby Wagner in the middle of that defense has been really good. Okay? Now, we'll take a few more here, and then we will go. I have a few other things I have to do tonight, a few other appearances. Everybody, welcome Jared to the chat, rocking the vintage hat. Hail to the Commanders. Take command, race hell, left hand up. Let's effing go. Huh? Jared, welcome, man. Let me know where you're watching from. Jared and Patrick, these are a couple of my Cole and Pegasus have been rocking with me for years now. He thinks the next to get fired are Chicago or Dallas. I'll tell you this. One thing you should be excited about as a Commanders fan, okay, and I don't think that this is necessarily a huge thing for a lot of people that aren't Commanders fans, but it does feel good that you're watching another team in the NFC have an ownership meltdown right now. And it's not you. For so long, Commanders fans have been dealing with the Dan Snyder mess. And now Jerry Jones is off the deep end. All right. And look, I know Jerry's not going to have a whole lot of love lost in this chat. But what I can tell you is there are quite a few of you that are enjoying watching the Cowboys suffer. But dear Lord, the Jonathan Mingo trade was terrible. I don't know what they're doing there. And the curtain situation, for those that aren't familiar, the way the Dallas AT&T Jerry World is set up, it wasn't built north to south. It was built east to west, to where the sunlight can come through the stadium, and it blinded CeeDee Lamb from scoring a touchdown. One good. No bueno. No bueno. And Jerry Jones went off on reporters. He went off on a radio host earlier this year and said, hey, I'll get you replaced, which the Cowboys did not own the station. It's sad to see. Now, I know some people in Jerry's circle. I'm a little old dude, but I actually do. And it's sad. I've met Steven before, and I don't like the Cowboys. I even told Steven Jones I'm not a Cowboys fan. And, you know, he's been very nice a few times I've seen him, interviewed him. I really, really, really do hate to see that. And I know a lot of I'm not gaining a lot of love from the Commanders fans saying that. I do hate to see that, though. Okay? Because the thing is, you can't change that. The owners are the owners. You're in a helpless situation. What's up, Jericho? Jericho Crittenden. That is a great name. Okay. Not the only Jericho C in NFL circles. Where are my Jericho Cotchery fans? That's where I want to see. Where are my Jericho Cotchery fans? Okay. Now, I am also going to be open with you guys as far as my Commander fandom. I shared my history with the Washington football team and all the other team names. Okay. I don't want to start a fight here. Okay. Call them whatever you want to call them. I will tell you this, though. I know Darryl Green is. I know John Riggins. I know Doug Campbell. I know most of those guys. You guys are going to know more about this team than me. All right. I wouldn't, like I shared earlier, I'm not a JAYDEN bandwagoner. I've always liked the Washington football team, if you will, because I have a history with the city of DC. I lived in DC. But I'm also not going to be fake to you guys either. Okay, I'm not going to be fake. I'm not going to act like I'm the president of the Commanders fan club. I will say I love JAYDEN as much as you guys, though. Okay, I will say that. It's the only thing I'll be defensive about. But other than that, you guys love this team, and I'm going to cover them the best I possibly can with the film studies. Now, type Y for yes, type N for no. Have you enjoyed the Commanders film studies? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Let me know. Because when I'm cutting them, sometimes I'm like, are these even good? And I see the views, and I'm like, dang, people love this stuff. All right. Because I want to be known as a live performer. Oh, you're an Arsenal fan? Well, wear the hat because it's red. Also wear the hat because Liverpool's the best club of all time. True story. Actually, I'm gonna save this story for the next stream. Okay. The biggest moment of my media career actually happened at FedEx Field. All right. And it was not American football. I'll save that for next week's stream. Now, next Wednesday, we'll go live again at 7 p.m. Central. Is that a good time for you guys? 7 p.m. Central every Wednesday. I want to do a Commander show to show you guys love. Tell your friends. Next Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central. Okay. Let's take a look at the poll question. It's a little bit different because you do have the Thursday night game. Nobody voted for the Eagles. Not a single person voted for the Eagles to win. That's crazy. I've touched on everything I wanted to get to today. B-Rob, I'm so excited to see him play. And who would have ever thunk an LSU Tiger and an Alabama Crimson Tide in the same backfield? Crazy. Absolutely crazy. It is Power Hour NFL. Boom. Connect with me on social media if you want to send me a message at Carter the Power on Twitter or Instagram. And tonight we are doing spaghetti. Let's go. Let's freaking go. Oh, no, not that. There we go.